Shalom, shalom. Greetings to you all in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, wherever you are. It's a great opportunity that the Lord has granted us today. We are blessed, I'm telling you, that God is on our side, that is with us, in us, as us. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And we should not cease from growing in the knowledge of truth. Why? Because truth will set us free. It will continue to set us free from all kinds of bondage. We need to be free. We need to free. Man was created to be a free person. We are supposed to be free to the extent that we can fly. To the extent that we can fly. We can fly and fly and fly and fly. You see, if we're still bound in any area, that means we need to know the truth in that area. I mean, when we get to know the truth, truth is so powerful than what we know so far. We bless the Lord for such a great opportunity for us to share with you this wonderful gospel of all time. In 2 Peter chapter 2 verse 4, it says, by which have been given to us exceedingly great and precious promises, that through these you may be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. This is wonderful. I mean, this is beautiful. Peter tells us something here concerning the grace of God. It says, by which have been given to us exceedingly great and precious promises, that through these you may be partakers of the divine nature. What does he say about grace? He's saying that, briefly explaining what grace is. He says that there are promises, and those promises which we received, which he has given us, and we've been made partakers of the divine nature. So he summarizes grace as partaking of the divine nature. Now, the partakers of divine nature, that means the participators. We participate in the same nature. That means there's one nature that we participate in. That means it is God's nature, where man was invited to participate. So man should participate in that very nature of God. He calls it grace. And this is the summary of what grace is. We saw what John said. He said that of his fullness have we all received. So we received from the fullness of God. And you understand that what he has is what he shared with us. That means his life and his nature. So Peter now emphasizes on this and saying that we are partakers of divine nature. He's also confirming this, that we are partakers of divine nature, which is the explanation of what grace is, briefly. So in one word, then, grace is partaking of divine nature. This is actually impossible. This is not something you can give to yourself. This is not something you can achieve. This is not where you are supposed to go. This is a place where you are taken, and thank God that it's a finished work. You're already there. We are partakers of divine nature. Time and time again, this is a revelation that now Paul was given. It was given to Paul. And you see, even Apostle John got it from Paul, including Peter in the second epistles of Peter. He mentions the Apostle Paul because he had read some writings or epistles of Apostle Paul, and he recommends him for the wisdom and the knowledge he had, or that has been given to him, so that he may explain and teach about salvation. So what we see here, he says we are partakers of divine nature. This is amazing, brothers and sisters. What else would you ask if you discovered this? If you just wake up and discover for real, and this becomes your personal revelation, that the nature of God is no longer his as exclusive. It is now being made available for you to participate in that very nature. Imagine what will happen to you. What else can we ask? You see, that is why I keep on saying, even when we ask certain things, it's because we ignore what we have. In our prayers, we always reveal the level of our ignorance or the level of our lack of understanding. The lack of understanding is too much among us. And since we don't understand the power, the glory of what has been given, granted to us, many times we find we are there, moving here and there, hovering over things we don't understand. And we are asking God to give us this, to give us that, or God to do this or do that. But the first and the most important question to ask ourselves is this: what do we have before we ask for what we think we don't have? In the first place, what do you have? What do you have? This question was asked to Moses, and Moses had a rod in his hands. He didn't know how much that rod was capable of doing great things. He never thought that that rod had certain abilities and capacity and some supernatural stuff would happen with that rod. He never knew it. And so God asked him, "What do you have, Moses?" He says, "The rod." And God told him to throw it down. He threw it down, and the rod became the serpent. He never knew that the rod can become the serpent. That means to give the inanimate thing life. How could God breathe life into something that never had life? That was a sign of what God was about to do. And imagine, he was about to use the stick, that rod of Moses too, as a sign to save the Israelites. One of those signs to give life while life was not. How do you explain that? That just a mere rod he had, because he was a shepherd, and he was always, it was helping him to shepherd the flock, the sheep. And so when God asked him, "What do you have?" he never knew all these years. And you know what? He had spent more than actually 40 years in that practice. The shepherd that he was, he never knew what that rod could do. So the question which God asked him was to awaken him to the reality of what he already possessed. That what you have, what you're looking for, you have it. What you're looking for, you have it. But he never knew that he had it. And so God told him, please throw it down. In other words, do as he did what God told him to do. He was also surprised to the level extent to which the rod could now move. Now you understand, the reason why it became a serpent, even that rod now was moving, right? And he realized the rod can turn into something else, right? And it was a shock to him. And that was always in his hands, but he didn't know until God revealed to him what he had in his hands. All right, what if we don't know now? That was Moses, because Moses had a rod in his hands. But what do we have? We are partakers of divine nature. What if the same problem that Moses had is what we have today? Do we know what we possess? This time is not in our hands, but in our own nature, in our very nature. Think about it. We don't know what we carry in our own nature, in our very nature. It's not only Moses, even Gideon. There's a man called Gideon. It's not only Gideon, many of them. And he was hiding. He didn't know how much he was powerful. And God visited him and said, man of valor and mighty. He thought about that word. He said, how can you call me valor or mighty when my people are dying and we are hiding here because the Philistines were destroying them. But he didn't know that was what he was as far as God is concerned. And what did God say? He said, go as your strength. Go according to your strength. Well, did God add more strength to him? No. He just told him that which you already have, the strength you already have, you have despised it enough. But you think you need more. You don't need more. No, go according to the strength you have. You see, he went. Nothing was added to him. It was only revealed to him that he was already powerful. He already had the ability to lead the Jews so that they may fight and defeat the Philistines. You see, all these stories always try to communicate one message, that we already have it. We already have it, but we don't know. And many times we, of course, keep on asking God to give us this, to give us that. And that again reveals the extent of our ignorance. What we are suffering from today is ignorance. It's not that God has not given us whatever that is necessary. It's not that God has not given us. It's only that we don't know what God has given us. And we assume that we don't have what He says we have. But it's not true. We have what God says that we have, and we are what God says that we are. It's high time that we stand on that truth and bear witness to what God has given us. He said again, as I conclude, that you may be partakers of divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world through lust. So what people were suffering from is this corruption that was in the world. The corruption that was in the world came through Adam. So he says now, you have escaped it. You are no longer part of the corruption that was introduced in the earth by Adam. You are now separated. In fact, you are partakers of divine nature, not partakers of that corruption in Adam. Now that you are partakers of divine nature, you live according to that standard. Move according to that revelation. And that is why we need to have the revelation first. And after having that revelation, we learn to meditate on what we already have. And we will find ourselves walking victoriously all the time. Understand, grace has come to lift you up, make you what you have never been. And this is the message of all time. Shalom, shalom.